to episode 75 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and co-host today, as always, Warren Sklar. How's it going, Warren?
Hey, Dave. Good evening. Thanks for having me again for week number 2. Looking forward to it.
Yep, I have to get used to not saying, you're just a co-host. I don't have to build you up anymore because
I don't mind, but go ahead if you want.
Last show we had Mike Potter on, and a great show, and you'll be finding, as everybody will find out, we're going to have some guests coming on along with Warren, and many shows with just Warren and I. So just stay tuned, and because I've got some surprises I didn't even tell you yet. So we got some surprise guests coming up in the next few weeks, and of course with Thanksgiving coming up here in the United States, we're recording this a little early, publishing this, hearing this, of course, the week of Thanksgiving. So nice to be able to do some good quality podcast show here. So there's lots of stuff talking with Apple. My gosh, past week. So we are going to talk about the Apple upgrades, and I've talked about this on previous shows. It's crazy how many upgrades have happened with iOS 13, and so we'll have a pretty deep conversation about that, because some other things that were just announced while we record this as well relates to that. And then got the news of the day, a couple of stories, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about music, Apple Music versus iTunes Match. I'm gonna have a good conversation about that, and let's see how that goes. So, but first, let's dive right into the news of the day. What do you think, Warren?
Looks like we got quite a bit to talk about, so let's go ahead and do that. Yep.
Let's do it. So the first story that caught my eye, Apple did launch a new smart battery case for the 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. I was pretty excited about that, since I did have that same case on my 10s Max, and it's the same price, and they've got some other colors. Did you see that?
I didn't see the color. I think the Pro Max only has 2 colors, a white and a black, maybe. But the 11 had a few others, I thought. I read
more.
Wasn't? Or maybe somebody said like an off-white.
Like a pink sand or something.
Maybe. But
not that I would, yeah. It's black, white, and pink sand.
Okay. Yeah, and
the 11 only comes in black or white. And of course, the 11 has all the colors, so you're going to hide the colors of your 11, right?
Right. But like you, I also had the Apple case for the my last phone, the 10s, 10. What was it?
I love that case.
10s Max or whatever it was. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good case. I liked it. Good for travel. So
yeah, you have extra battery.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it yet, because I haven't had too much of an issue with the Pro Max battery.
Yeah, that was my first. But the next thing I was going to say too is, and I raved about how the battery life on this 11 Pro Max, I'm sure you can too, is the fact that it lasts all day and then some. I mean, I'm at 71% on my battery right now, and I was using it all day long. I keep spouting that the battery life on this phone is just incredible. So it is kind of pointless to have that case at this point. One unique thing that did get added to it was the camera app has a camera app. There's actually a camera button on the side of the case that'll actually launch the camera app for you right from there. So
yeah, I think if you press it once, if the phone's locked or not, it will launch the app. And then after that, if you press it once quickly, it takes a picture. And if you hold it down, it takes a video, is what it does. So there must be, I'm guessing, some kind of Bluetooth connection to the phone, because there's no other way. Or, maybe through the Lightning connector talks to it. But somehow that button is not a physical button on the iPhone. So that's a button going into the phone some other way. So it's got to be through either Bluetooth or through the Lightning connector data, I'm guessing.
So if you want it for the 11 Pro, and 11 Max, so I've in the show notes, Mac Rumors, and you'll be able to buy that case now. It's out for sale now. So let's move on to our next story. Apple announced an interesting press event on December 2nd. It's kind of unusual. I don't ever recall Apple having an event this late here. And they say they're going to be talking about their favorite apps and games of the year. What's your take on this?
Yeah, definitely. It's a weird thing. I heard on something else that they do the Apple App Awards around this time normally. It's just never an event. So, now they're having an event, a live event to talk about the apps and maybe do awards. I don't know. Some people think it's could be a way to introduce some kind of hardware at the same time, or maybe some other service or software. But or maybe not. Maybe it's just like a little award ceremony for people to develop apps. It could tie into the Mac Pro though, since the Mac Pro is definitely a computer that people could use to develop apps, and they're all looking forward to it. So it could be the announcement of when the actual Mac Pro will go on sale. That I could see, since I already said it's coming out in December anyways. It's not going to be a shock.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking it could be just like some big Hollywood events, like Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, Morning Show, and all the other stars of all the other shows show up on Apple TV Plus. They say favorite apps and games. I don't know. I have this feeling I can maybe one more thing might happen. It's in New York City. So,
it's in New York and Brooklyn, so I don't know if that's going to attract the Reeses and the Jennifers as much as Hollywood would. But yeah, you never know. You never know.
So, or they just want to just hear some great things about the app stores and the app developers, and something just to give back. Let's face it, those app developers have made a lot of money, and they've also made a lot of money for Apple too. They can rave about how great these apps are.
You know that the winner is going to get a free Mac Pro with the monitor.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. And then the third story, this was from last week, but we hadn't talked about it. Is Apple did launches a research app, and all U.S. users can enroll in 3 health studies. After that announcement at the September event, the Apple Research app is now available, and you can download it on your iPhone and your Apple Watch, of course. And it's going to have 3 different studies that you can do. And I'm just looking through here. Did you have a chance to take a look at this article and about this?
Not this particular article, but I read about it last week. I think it just was announced around the time we recorded last week. So, yeah, it's.
Trying to see which the studies are going to be here.
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested. Isn't it? One's more like a cycle study.
Oh, that's right. The women's health. It's going to be the women's health with menstrual cycles and collecting stuff like movement, heart rate, noise level data. Yeah, so you got to tread lightly. If you feel that you feel kind of violated, it's tapping into your privacy. May not be something.
I could do the cycle study, but that would confuse the hell out of them. Probably.
And they also have a hearing study too, so they're going to be doing that as well with the app. That's the 2 things that are highlighted in the article. Cycle tracking for menstrual cycles. So, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see where the health is going. This continues to evolve. Something that we're always very interested.
I'm actually interested in the cycle app personally. Not for me, but to know when to be on my best behavior in the house.
I didn't even think of that.
It alerts me, it vibrates.
Oh my god! Hope your wife didn't hear that one.
Yeah, probably.
That's funny. So yeah, check it out. It's gonna definitely be something interesting. So, let's go on to our topics this week. The first thing I want to really talk about was Apple Music versus iTunes Match. Do you have both services right now?
I definitely have Apple Music. I don't know what's going on with Match. I started out with Match when it first came available.
Me too.
Then what then I thought they had a thing where they had to be together. And you have to had a both, but then they split it up where you didn't have both. And
Right.
so I'm not even sure if I saw a match. I know it's only
It's in the
a
subscriptions.
couple bucks a year or something, like $20 a year.
$25. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had a client. Yeah, I do IT support. I had a client with a with a Sonos, an older Sonos, that said, you know, it either something changed where they either need Apple Music or iTunes Match for it to work to read the library. So we actually went through this whole thing where he canceled his iTunes, the Apple Music, and then the Sonos stopped, so he had to redo it. So, um, again, I think you don't need Match if you have Apple Music, because in theory you can get any iTunes Match takes your music, uploads it to the cloud of Apple, and Apple comes back to you and say, "We have this library. We have this in our library. We will offer this to you on all your devices, and we will give you a better quality version of it if we have it." Apple Music kind of does the same thing, except it will do the same thing as that, as well as give you other music, although you are not owning that music. If you cancel Apple Music, they're gone, and that's why I understand it.
Well, a little more to that I'll add is, and I've been an iTunes Match customer since day one. It's the best thing in the world. I mean, I went back and read the article from Jason Snell in the Macworld that he wrote back in 2011. So it's been around for about 9 years. So it's what it did was I still have hard drives and hard drives filled with music. Probably have 100,000 songs. I don't know, if not like me, but I had all this music that I had, legally obtained and otherwise, and anything else, but a lot of CD rips, things like that. But sometimes you might have some lower quality kilobit songs, like 128 kilobit, 64 kilobit. Hopefully, you don't have it that low. And what you would do is you'd upload these songs up to the server, to the iCloud server, and iTunes Match would what it does you would go back into iTunes and then you would download a 256 kilobit version of it, so a much better quality version than you had. Oh, it's still your song. That's the big key. Apple Music is not your song, so and you also can only listen to it on one device at a time, or if you have a family plan, you can multiple. So you are limited when it comes to downloading the music if you wanted to. And I think most of us who have Apple Music, I have a single Apple Music plan, but my wife and I share it. But we share the library. So, but that's the only difference is because now, of course, the music that you download from Apple Music is going to be secured. Like remember back in the old days when iTunes first came out, when you had those M4P protected files, and everything had writing protections on it, and it was crazy.
That was fun.
Because back in those days, we're going back in the days of Napster, and I'll be readily admit I was a big Napster fan.
Oh yeah,
I was
me
on
too.
there quite a bit.
I miss those days, kind of.
I do too. I really do. So, so very similar type of security on it now, but because you're just an Apple Music subscriber, you can listen to it, but you can't give the song to somebody else. Like the iTunes Match, which it is your music. I don't promote sharing, but you're not supposed to do it, but it happens obviously. So really, that's where it breaks down to what you really want to do. But I did put a link in the show notes to an article just a recent article in Macworld. Glenn Fleischman wrote it a couple days ago here on actually yesterday, as we record this, and stressing the fact and talking about this exact topic. Do you really need iTunes Match or not? Well, I it's kind of questionable. Do you really, if you are or not? But the biggest thing you got to remember is you got to make sure if you decide to cancel it. I put it through as a cancellation on my account. I have until next month. I may keep it because I really like that. And I'm not seeing if Apple's going to change anything as far as still making it offered available. Now remember in Mojave and older operating systems, you're still using iTunes, whereas you're in Catalina. Catalina has its own separate music app. It works the same way, so you'll be able to download your songs in your iCloud library. But if you decide you don't want to keep it anymore and you cancel it, one of the things you got to make sure you do is you have to download all the music before it cancels, because there's that potential possibility you could lose some of your music that belongs to you. You own the music, of course. So so it's important that you make sure that you download that stuff. So again, there's also in that article, there's a link to Jason Snell's article back in 2011 about how to replace all your local copies. That was really cool. I was like having a ball doing that. Just set an iTunes rule: match songs to download, and if the bit rate is less than 256 kilobits, then it'll go out and download it.
Do you keep with your Apple Music? Do you download your Apple Music locally to your devices?
Sometimes. The only time I would do it is like if I'm doing some traveling, I want to have the music on my iPhone or my iPad. But a lot of times I'll download a lot of them. I have a mix, because I have a mix of my own music, which is the stuff that I own is in my own library. And then it goes in both places. So I am an Apple Music subscriber. I don't find it to be a bad deal. You pay you can get the gift card for $99 for the year, and that covers you for a full year subscription. I've been doing it for the last couple of years since Apple Music came out. So, so I think it's, but I will download stuff like if I want something offline, so I don't have to depend on the internet especially if I'm in a plane or.
I do the same with just with my iPhone. I'll download pretty much everything to it. I have a playlist that I call All, and I move everything to the All playlist, and I download it just by right-clicking on it, and it will download everything locally to that phone. And this way, if I'm in an airplane or whatever, I could listen to my music.
Yeah, right. So it'll definitely make a difference as far as that goes. So, but check that article out. We'll have it in the show notes. But I still like iTunes Match, and I think I've talked myself into continue to renew it. It's only $25 for the year, and I do like to have that capability of being able to download my own copies of files. And I'm not going out as much as I used to back in the old days of ripping CDs and downloading music in places you shouldn't be downloading them. So
yeah. The one thing with the iTunes Match, though, is it will only match music it has.
It's in its server. Library.
Yeah, so some of the really
but
obscure
they have
things.
Quite a library. So most songs I've had, I said some bootleg, song from a concert or something. What they do is they will upload it to the server, so you can stream it. So if it's not downloaded on your device, you can play it still. But it won't match if it's a lower bit rate, because it doesn't have that exact file. So, anything else you want to add with music?
No, just I'm happy with the Apple Music, and I definitely use Match as well. I know I used it a lot more before I had it a long time, and I know I used it a lot more before Apple Music came along. And for the $25 a year,
It's worth it.
I don't think I would get rid of it. Even if it just did a few things, like a couple of the songs that I own that that aren't in the library, like that I could get anywhere. Like you said, it's worth it for me too.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's move on to our next topic. And I think we're going to have some interesting discussion here about this next topic. As everybody knows, Apple has released an insane amount of versions of iOS 13, going from 13.0 to 13.2.3. And 13.3 is beta testing right now, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So if I have my counts correctly here, there's been 9 versions of upgrades from September 19th till 3 days ago. So
it's crazy.
It's insanity. I'm gonna I created this chart. I'm gonna put it in the show notes so everybody can kind of see it firsthand, visually. I don't know if you saw it in our show notes.
Yeah, I see it.
So it'll give you an eye-opening. It's like, why is this? So, but there was an article actually today. We got a link to it from Macworld. Actually, it was reported by Mark Gurman, who's a big-time reporter for Bloomberg, reports on a lot of things Apple. That Apple's starting to realize, what, iOS development process is very flawed right now. So, of course, iOS 14 will be coming out soon with the kickoff that they had a kickoff meeting apparently. And they're saying that they're going to be doing some more implementing of software flags that allows engineers to develop to turn features on and off. Well, hello. I mean, if there was so many features that were a problem, they should have known right away, and they should have kept those things turned off in these versions until they were ready to say, okay, we're ready to release it. And I even the quote the article here says, that iOS 13 has been rocky at best for rules. It's crazy. And in the article it says software flags are not hardly a new concept. It's quite frankly surprising that Apple hadn't already been doing it. Well, what's your thoughts on this? Because you're a beta tester, so you see it all. You've seen it all before. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought is, when iOS 13 first came out, and I was so hot to tell my family and friends to go ahead and install it, and then
everybody else says you're crazy.
It was crazy. So I got that, and then a week later, I'm like, oh, there's an update for it, and then a week later, oh, there's not, and finally I just stopped doing that because I'm like, you know what, I'm not bothering these users who aren't technical to update their devices every week because they're going to turn around and say, yell at me about it. And I'm like, let's wait till they get this straight, and then I'll tell them, okay, now you can do this, and this should be good going forward. Which I think hopefully will be on 13.3. Right. But, as far as, the flags, even from the beta, the thing is, a lot of new features, the new features of the iOS 13 are not really that buggy compared to some of the features that were there from day one, like mail. It's like,
oh yeah, of course.
So it's like, I know they could turn on and off things, and that's good, but it's not going to fix everything. And they need to really, I think they need to polish the basics before they even put out, by beta 5 or 6, in the first step of the process, every base core operating system function should be perfect. There should be no issues with it. And then at that point on, then you could start playing with some of the add-ons, which is fine. But again, there during the beta processes, there's reports of obviously the mail, what I said, phone's not working. That there was one of those where the phone wouldn't make a call. I think not in 13, but in 11 or 12. Just basic things need to work, and then they could go on with that.
Yeah. So I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to see this. I'm just, like I said, you and I have been using iPhones and iOS devices for years and years. I mean, I go all the way back to iOS 4, iOS 3. Did you have the first phone? Did you have the first iPhone?
It was maybe the 3. Did I start on? I think I started with the 3. The 3 something.
I did too. I didn't have the first one. I couldn't stomach spending $600, $700 for the first gen iPhone. I started with the 3G.
Yeah,
3GS.
I think that's what I started with.
I pretty much had every phone after that since then. So
yeah, me too. I was living in England at the time, and
oh, okay.
I think I couldn't. It took them longer because I know it started on AT&T here, and only AT&T here. And I think in England it took them a little bit longer to get on there. I think O2 was their network. But I remember right up to that point, before I got the iPhone, I started playing. I was playing with the Windows mobile phone with the slide out keyboard,
yep.
and like things like that were sort of computer like, and it was just kind of like getting to it got to the point where it piqued my interest enough to like really want a good smartphone, and I'm like, this is good. I have a keyboard. It's sort of like Windows, but damn, it's horrible to use and it's not intuitive. And finally the iPhone came out, and it was just in time for people to be on the board with something that because before that people were like, why do you need all that on the phone? And then they came out with it, and I'm like, oh, that's why you need it on.
I mean, I remember I got really excited when they finally added copy and paste. They didn't have that in the first 3 or 4 versions of iOS.
Or an app store. Remember?
Or an app store for that matter, right? You had no apps. I mean,
there was no app store, but there was
there.
I don't know if you remember, there was like a website. There was a website with apps, like pseudo apps that ran, I guess it was running HTML code.
I remember the dedicated YouTube app. dedicated the dedicated Google app.
Yeah, yeah. There was like just like websites that were kind of like pseudo apps. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, yeah,
It was a Nokia
I mean,
N95. That's what I had right before. That was the phone I had right before my first iPhone. Was a Nokia N95 slider thing.
yeah, we could go on forever about the history of our phones and mobile devices, but let's move on and actually talk about
So many
so,
phones. So many phones.
as I said, 9 updates, and you'll see the chart in the show notes of how crazy the dates have been, and some of them were like 2 and 3 days later, if you
Yeah.
recall.
And
So
I like it. I as a tech again, I get excited. I mean, I every beta day
right,
I'm excited. I'm like, all right, this is great. I'm going to put this on right away, and it's going to fix a couple things and make it speedier. So I mean, for me, it's cool, but again, for
yeah,
the normal user, it's not so cool.
I agree. So another article we've got linked to. So we've kind of mixed topics and articles here in this, just because this is all relating to this master topic we've talking about today. Apple did release iOS 13.2.3 on November 18th, so that was 3 days ago from our recording here. And they did fix the background app improvements and then the mail fixes and more. And of course, a lot of times Apple doesn't even disclose a lot of the things they do fix. So you wonder. So they did fix issue with, I guess, system search and search within mail files and apps and notes not working. So you start looking at some of these bugs, it's like, God, this is just inexcusable. The things that are listed here that should not have been a bug. What you think?
Yeah, yeah. It's like what I'm saying. You just see the back again, like the background app and issue where apps were killing it,
Yeah,
getting killed when you swapped apps. This is a feature they've touted with their operating system for many revisions and many operating systems of the iPhone, and it's like just to, I mean, have somebody not purposely but somehow break that is just weird to me. Like how they would go back and like just totally break that that process. So it's strange. It's
crazy.
definitely strange.
But then, yeah, we as we talked about beta, and I do beta testing too. I have, unlike you, when you live on the edge by using all your primary devices, I have secondary devices that I have installed on. So, but iOS 13.3, this is beta 3, just came out, actually just came out yesterday as we record this. And it was 3 weeks after 13.2, uh, and, uh, and they've added some new things like Siri privacy controls, and new emojis, deep fusion since then. Um, I assume you have it installed on your device. What have you seen so far with that?
Yeah, no, I put it on yesterday. I don't see anything. The Siri privacy and the emojis, all that came with 13.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading the article. Yeah, it was 13.2.
Yeah, it came out already. So I think this is just improvements. They seem to be on a weekly beta cycle now. iOS and iPadOS and macOS and watchOS and
WatchOS,
tvOS all come
tvOS.
out weekly now. Um, Yesterday was a strange day because they all came at the same time, the same days. Usually they'll separate them by a day or two. Um, so I actually put it on my iPad and I put it on my iPhone. And I don't see any. To be honest with you, I don't see one change at all between 13.2 and 13.3.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it's mail again is still weird. Like even on the Mac, it's weird. Like I don't know if this isn't even a beta thing. It's Catalina thing. But if you have mail open and then you quit mail, all of a sudden all the notifications that you would have got for those messages start popping in the notification center. Again, keep going back to mail because it's just amazing how they
Yeah,
messed it up
I agree.
on these devices. But it's getting better. I'll let you know. I'll let you know if 13.3 point 3 is that what it is?
13.3 beta 3.
Beta 3 is working any better. And I'm traveling this week, so if I really mess
Okay.
something up, then I'll be
Yeah,
I'll be in trouble.
talk about it on the next show.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Did you have any other topics you wanted to bring up before we move into some of our tips? I know that was one topic I was thinking of. I mean, there's a possibility that Apple may rename their conference. Did you see that? That WWDC being become the Apple Developers Conference
Well,
because
here I'm
because they did some
looking. They
renaming of
renamed the
stuff.
app.
Yeah, they renamed the app, right? The WWDC app is now called the Developer app.
Yeah, and I
And,
actually looked
and
at it. It's pretty nice.
is it? I think I had that. Hadn't even looked since.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I went to WWDC 1 year, and I just left it on since then. And yeah, I mean, if they
you
rename
go to
it, that's
WWDC,
cool.
but you don't go to Macstock. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
gonna convince the family that I have to do it this year. But yeah, I didn't see the article that they were going to rename the actual conference. I just saw the app was renamed, so it wouldn't shock me, and I don't think it would shock anybody.
No, so I mean, I think it's because we're all as Apple geeks. We're all used to WWDC. We're all we're all used to calling it that, and been around for so long.
Right,
Um,
right.
and you think about Microsoft Ignite. That's their big conference that they just had, and Jamp just had their big. They always have their big conference. JNUC, uh, and why not to make it easier on people to calling it Apple Developers Conference instead. So
They'll
um,
figure out ANC. Let's see, ADC. They'll figure out some kind of fun way to say it. I'm not sure what they'll come up with, but uh, they'll make it nice and snappy if they do change it. Of course,
so
of course, I got a jacket that says WWDC on it, and nobody's gonna know what that means anymore if they
but it's
change
going
it.
to be a collector's item.
Yeah, I guess so.
So let's get into some tips.
Cool.
How's that sound?
Yep.
Um, First tip I threw out there and is how do you print from an iPad? Do you have you done any printing from your iPad before?
Once, twice, maybe.
Yeah,
Not a
we don't
lot,
print things.
but
We don't do a
I've
lot of
done it.
printing. I don't think. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to print things, especially if you have an iPad,
Yeah,
because you have the form right there and signing your forms. And but there are people, old school people out there that still want to have a hard copy of something. And of course, if it's primary device and you may not have a Mac or a PC for that matter, you may want to print something. So, um, the first way to print something is you could print from the iPad using AirPrint. That's the most common thing. So of course, you need to have an AirPrint compatible printer in order to use AirPrint. Good thing is I have a brand new. I just bought an Epson all-in-one Workforce. That's a great scanner, copier, printer, and these new printers now. I don't know when's the last time you bought a printer, but they just go right on your network, right on Wi-Fi, and bada boom.
yeah.
It's
Mine,
just
mine's
there.
not that old. We had to replace it, and
Yeah.
it wasn't expensive. I mean, it was like 40-50 bucks on sale, and it works fine. And AirPrint works fine. So I mean, it's when AirPrint first came out, I think it was kind of a niche, and printers were a little more expensive at the time to get the AirPrint to it. But nowadays, I don't think you could find one. I don't think you could find a wireless one without it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like a standard thing now.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, so some of the steps that you have to go through when you do print, you can go while you're in an app or a web page, you'll be able to print from the share icon, icon with a little arrow up, and and you tap the more icon, and then it should then at the bottom rows there show you an icon that says print icon. So if you go to that and it'll usually be discoverable right away. So you just go to the window, it'll see that you're on your network and it'll say, oh, Epson Force printer is right there. Boom, you sent it. It just blows my mind how far we've come. Me standing there with a device sitting in my hands, tap print prints. All those days of the serial ports and the hardcore drivers and all the things we've had to do plugged into these printers just makes it easier.
Even before AirPrint, it was like the caveman days. You had to.
Right.
So some of them had like an app where it had its own email address, where you had to like kind of email. It's either an email address or some kind of web address where you had to use an app on the iPhone or iPad to go to that and then send it that way, and that's how it printed out. It was a mess. Nobody used it, so this is a lot better.
Now, there's also cloud printing services through Google. I don't know. Have you used that before?
On my Android, when I had a couple of Android tablets, there's a cloud print from Google, which kind of works the same way.
Yeah, no, I was playing with it. And actually, the cool thing about the Google Cloud Print is, and again, um, proceed with caution because you always know Google is like Big Brother. They have all your information. If it's not anything it's real sensitive, I want to think twice about using these types of services. But um, and it basically is a web page you go to, and you'll be able to send the print job kind of like to a email address. It's like your printer becomes an email address that you mail it to.
Right.
So as long as the printer is Google Print Cloud Print capable, send an email to that email address. Bada boom, prints.
Yeah, that's
Just-
kind of how some of those apps worked before too.
Yeah.
It was sort of the same thing, because it took Google a while. I remember Android, uh, iPhones and iPads were able to print to a wireless printer a lot easier before Google devices were. They had problems. I remember a lot of people struggling with it before that. So I think it's gotten easier. And actually, if you go into it retains a list of your Google printers in the device now, so it kind of remembers it kind of as a known printer, so you don't have to go through that whole step anymore
Right.
to send it out. So it's not too bad now. Yeah, so printing from there and the scanning. While we're just talking about that, everybody's
we're gonna talk
asking
about that in a minute
about
here.
how do you scan? You know, what's the best way to scan nowadays? And the iPhone has great scanning apps now that I use
They
all
do.
the time. I'll use that more than going to. I have a couple scanners, and I don't do that anymore for the most part. If it's like multiple pages, I'll use you can't see it, but I have this guy here, which is a Scan Snap,
Yep.
which does a really good job at multiple pages. But if you're doing one or two pages, the program I like is Scan Genie. I'm just checking out Genius Scan. So I think
Yeah,
it's free and
There's a couple.
works great. You
Yeah,
take a picture of it, it mixes into a scan, and then literally you could email it to yourself or airdrop it to yourself. And if you pay them, you could save it to different locations if you want, but you generally don't have to do that. It's a free app.
Yeah. Oh, it's let's in fact I was going to talk about scanning at the end here, but let's move right up to that and talk about that a little bit because it kind of relates. I didn't even think about that when I wrote the notes here. So good thinking, Lincoln. We but yeah, I was going to talk about there actually is a built-in scanning capability through the Files app. Were you aware of that?
Yeah. Is it the Files app? I thought also the
Yep,
Notes.
it's the Files app. So
the Notes app does it too, doesn't it?
the Notes app will also scan. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's also another way to do it through the Files app.
Okay.
And what you do is you go into the Files app and then you you'll actually go through and you actually can actually create a file. So if you trying to go back here, I just said created a file here.
Yeah, I'm looking. How do you create a file?
I did the demo here, and so basically what I did was I created a folder.
Oh, I see it.
I created a folder called scans.
Yeah.
And then it's in the documents, and that's and if you swipe down a little bit, you'll have three little dots at the top. See, that's what threw me off. So when you're in the folder, you swipe down that blank page. So let me go through that again. I was going too fast here. So go into the Files app, and what I would do is I would create a folder called scans. So if you go into the Files app, in iCloud Drive, you go in and browse. You can create a folder in there. So once you create that folder, go into that folder, which is called scans, and you swipe down, and then there's three little dots at the top left. As soon as you tap that, there's a choice called Scan Documents, and that's also where you create the new folder. Once you click Scan Documents, and voila, you got a built-in scanner right there from the Files app, scans it. And the cool thing about that is it actually share that into the scans folder that you created. You go right back to your Mac because, of course, your Mac is synced to iCloud, and then you can go grab that scanned file right away, and be on your merry way, being able to edit it right from there. So
That is cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
a lot of people didn't know that feature, and see, I stumped you again.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's good.
But
I knew the notes.
Is it efficient? That's another story. Uh, there are a number of scanning apps, and you mentioned one. I wasn't going to put them in there, but I will add those in the show notes now. Is my favorite is Scanner Pro. That's from Beetle. Beetle is my favorite app developer of all time. They do PDF Expert. I've talked about that a bunch of times. And it's so easy with Beetle's Scanner Pro to do things. I'm just looking in here how much stuff I've scanned in here. I go, holy cow, I forgot all this stuff I've scanned. It's in here. So you push the plus sign, and then it just does the same thing. You just take photos of each document. Now, unfortunately, with scanning, you're not going to have like a multi-sheet feeder like your printer does. So if you're going to do multi-sheet printing, scanning all the time, then by all means, I would use it with my Epson, of course, printer that has the multi-sheet scanning. Put it in, it's going to go scan through 10, 15 pages in a minute, 30 seconds. But if you need to do something real quick in scanning, that's what's great about this, as well as the built-in one that's in Files app. If you don't want to spend the money on the app, you just keep taking photos, and it'll do multiple pages and be able to take pages that take print of that all the time. So
if you do a lot of scanning, I do recommend the Scan Step thing that I got.
Which one's called Scan Step?
It's a Scan Snap from Fuji.
Oh, Scan Snap. Okay.
Yeah, I think
let's put that as our picks of the week here.
John Braun talks about his too. I think he has one too, but it works well, and they're not
scan. What is it called again? Scan.
It's a Scan Snap. SCAN.
Oh, Snap. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I've heard that.
But there's different models. The one I have is the S1300i is what mine is, but it depends on
this is a piece of hardware. I'm sorry.
What was it?
This is a piece of hardware, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're doing multiple pages of a scan,
got it. I'm thinking it was an app.
No, unfortunately not.
That's I say a lot of these scanner printers. I mean, this Epson one I bought, I don't think cost me more than $130.
Right.
And it's a great printer. It's basically like a multi-purpose office type printer, inkjet. But it has the sheet feeding scanner there for you, and it makes copies too.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's
copies,
cool.
So.
I mean, I tried to go paperless for the most part. And what's cool about the Files app too is what you said is, it's kind of awesome having your scans that are important everywhere on your phone, on your iPad, on your Mac. Just like
exactly.
Yeah, you'll be out, and my wife will say, how much should I pay for something in '93? I have no idea. Wait a second. I scanned that in. You go up and you kind of look in your folders and you find it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the thing is, these apps also do it. So like the Scanner Pro from Riedel has a set folder set up on iCloud Drive. So when you scan it, it backs up there as well. But the Files app, you don't want to spend the money on an app, you can do it right from there.
Yep.
They did add that feature. And again, like we mentioned, the Notes app does that too. You can scan things right into an app, added as part of a note. So it's just amazing what we've been able to do with scanning,
Yep, for sure.
As far as that goes. So let's dig into a couple. I have a couple of things here on iPhone. Hiding your apps on your iPhone and wanting to find them later. Sometimes you've need to hide apps from others and from maybe people who snoop. And I think the easiest way to do that is if you want to be able to hide apps, is you can actually create one of the ways of hiding apps is by using app folders. So what you could do is create an actual app folder on one of the screens. Then you could start dragging in all those apps into that folder and hide it. So And it really what it is just gets people to have to dig through your phone if they really wanted to see the what apps are in there. Have you done this before with folders and hiding apps?
No, I knew you could do it, but yeah, I don't hide apps that way. What I would love to know, and I don't know, this might be impossible, but there's like an app or two that I don't want to show up in Siri suggestions when you pull it down, and
You just
I
read my
can't
mind here.
I can't find a way. Either Siri suggestions is on or off. I can't find a way to exclude one particular app from showing up in the suggested search when you pull down, especially if you use it often.
Well, what you do is you open up settings, then you tap Siri and search, then you scroll down the screen and select the app you want to hide. In that list, tap that specific app, and then it'll give you the option at that point to turn off suggestions in search, suggestions in lookup, suggestions on lock screen. Just turn off those three. Repeat that. You're going into settings. You're going into Siri and search.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't know. Can't believe I missed that. That's awesome.
So we've learned. I've taught you 2 new things today.
Look at that. Look at that.
And I taught everybody else some new things too. So yeah, so that's what you do is you go into Siri and search. If you scroll down, there's every app that you have on here. If you don't want it to be suggested, go into each individual app and then turn it off. Obviously, you can turn it off altogether. You don't want Siri search to be working, but it is pretty useful in some apps. But at least now, this gives you the option of turning them off individually. Cool stuff found. Cool stuff found, man.
It says it does, but it's still. I just turned that off, that setting, and then I scroll back down, and it's still showing that one app is showing up in Siri suggestions.
Must be some pesky app.
Who knows?
Which app is it? If you don't mind saying.
It's a banking app that I don't need people snooping around in, to be honest with you. So
gotcha.
Yeah, that's weird.
And the other tip I was going. Any other things you want to add for that?
Nope.
Other tip I had here was how to actually delete and uninstall apps on an iPhone, and I think everybody pretty much knows how to do that. But it's always good to have a refresher in knowing how to do that. So to delete and uninstall an app on your iPhone, all you have to do is tap and hold an app icon until the quick action menu appears. That's usually the quickest way nowadays. Because with the advent of Face ID and the touchscreen, sometimes you just can't hold. That's how we used to do it in the old days. You'd tap and hold the icon just enough till it starts wiggling, right? I'm finding that with this quick menu to come up, it's much easier to do it that way. So you tap and hold the icon app until the quick action menu appears, and then you have the choice of the app, and it just removes it immediately. If you want to edit, if you want to do the same thing, you can tap and hold the icon again, and it would give you the option to edit the home screen. And then at that point, it would bring up and show the icons wiggling with the X buttons next to it, so you can go through and selectively delete each one of those apps in there. And then once you're finished with it, you can swipe up the screen, or you can actually tap done to close that out. So
I like to know a lot better, to be honest, too, because the holding down and wiggling and all that was a mess. It's still kind of messy when you're trying to move things around, but at least you just long press, you hit edit home screen, and you know that you can move stuff around, which is a lot better than waiting for the wiggles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So, so that's some tips on that. I also wanted to talk a little bit about using a Bluetooth mouse with your iPad. Have you done that before?
I did it with an iPad during one of the betas, and I tried it again here and there. And it's still, to me, not as good as it could be at some point.
I agree.
It's still more of an accessibility feature than like a feature.
And you will find that out as soon as I describe how you have to do it to get it enabled.
Yeah, and accessibility. Also, I saw your notes that you put for iPhone too, and I had no idea you could do it for a phone.
Yeah.
I thought it was just for an iPad, so that's pretty cool.
No, because I know that's kind of freaky to be doing it with an iPhone, but no, it's the same operating system, and they have it in accessibility too.
Yeah. I think they added that because I remember trying it on one of the earlier betas, When the iPad first got it, they didn't add it to the phone. It wasn't there yet. So I think that they added that later on, which is kind of, as you said, kind of weird
Or,
to do that.
and I'm quoting an article from iPhone Life magazine, iPhoneLife.com. So I'm gonna put that link in the show notes so you actually see the visual steps here. But basically what you have to do is you go into the settings app, and then like you said, it's an accessibility. It's buried. I'm telling you, it's buried. It's not just an easy place to find how to do this. So you tap the accessibility icon, then you tap touch, and then you tap the assistive touch, and because some people have tough time operating touch screens, especially with gestures. This is a screen where you can add devices to help you interact with the touch screen, which is of course would be a mouse. And then you toggle assistive touch on, and then you scroll down under the assistive touch menu, and then you'll see devices, and then you tap devices, and then you go tap Bluetooth devices. You may go in there in the iPad, and you'll probably see the Apple Pencil already in there if you have the Apple Pencil. But then you of course get your Bluetooth device, the mouse in this case, turned on, so it picks it up. Then you just tap it, puts it in discovery mode, and then as the steps will show you, it just allows you to connect right to the iPad, and it moves with a cursor. So when you're moving the mouse, you see it moving. So, and I mean, because it's an accessibility type feature, it is moving across the screen with a little icon. What do you think of that? Sir?
I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, no, it's definitely it's interesting that they added it, but I'd like to see them play with it a little more to get it more of a mainstream feature than that accessibility kind of feature.
It's definitely not. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not somebody who really needs this. If this is going to be something that you really need to, so I wouldn't sweat it as far as that goes.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have your iPad up and it's on the dock and you have the keyboard and all that, and it's just sitting there, then it's kind of neat. But again, it really does. Yeah, I don't know if you said it in the notes, but it turns on the assistive touch, and basically that puts that little dot on the screen too.
Right. I just said that. Yeah.
Oh, you did say it. I missed it. And did you say there's a way to turn that down? You could turn the opacity all the way down, so you don't see it. Yeah. So yeah, again, it's fun to play with, but once or twice is enough for me. So there you go.
That's what I say. I don't think it's something that it's really effective to have, as far as that goes. So, yeah, that's how you turn on if you want to use the mouse on an iPad or an iPhone. All right. Before we got wrapping it up things here, did you happen to have any apps that you've discovered as of late that you'd like to bring up?
I don't have an app pick, but I have a pick that's related to iOS devices, and that pick is I discovered reading glasses not too long ago, and I've noticed that I didn't think I needed them, but evidently I do.
Oh yeah.
What I could tell you is get some reading glasses. Even if you're not sure, try them out. Your iPad and your iPhones are like brand new devices. They're bright, they're big. You can read everything. It's almost like getting like a iPhone Pro, double max in there, because it's beautiful. I mean, the screen is just beautiful. So
I think we talked about that yesterday on Back to the Future. Oh,
it's like a whole new world.
And I saw your glasses.
It's like I had LASIK surgery when it was first out. Yeah. So I haven't worn glasses forever because I had the surgery. But they told you after you have the surgery that you'll need reading glasses if you need them. And so I wasn't sure. And then I was trying to read something. I'm like, and my sister-in-law was like, "Here, put these on." I put these on. I looked at my phone. I'm like, the heavens opened up. I'm like, I could stay on my phone now for like ever without not being able to see it. And it was great. So that's my pick is, try them out for your, get the They sell them with the blue light blocking. If you get those, or a little bit more, but not that much, and your screen will look beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye.
It's a tear in my eye.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things I wanted to mention before we close out the show, and I keep messing with you, but definitely think MacStock is going to be the place you got to come next year. Now that you know me and you know you've known Guy for a long time, and you know we both love this conference, and I think it's a lot of fun. But it is coming again next year, and they haven't. Mike Potter was on last show, and we talked about it, but I wanted to mention it again. The MacStock Conference and Expo 2020 is coming. It's July 25th, 26th, and it's in Woodstock, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. And I definitely want you guys to check it out. And I'm going to have this in the show notes. So all you need to do is sign up for the MacStock newsletter. I'll have a link in the show notes, and we'll get you on to notify you when the Cyber Monday discount is coming. So Mike is generous enough that it's going to offer, this is a one-time only discount on the first Monday of after Thanksgiving, after Black Friday, which is kind of weird this year that it's in December. This is the latest Black Friday has ever been, last I remember. So this is going to be on December 2nd, which is Cyber Monday, and you'll have a way to be able to save $100 off the two-day event. Be the best discount you will ever see. So something I want you guys to definitely to check out. And to get to the website is macstockconferenceandexpo.com, and you got to check it out. And I've spoken at all 5 MacStocks. This will be the 6th year that we're having this event, so I would definitely want to check it out. I know it's hard to be blindly buying into a conference, but I can tell you we've had some great speakers over the years, including myself, and I think it's something you should check out. And we will start announcing speakers probably next year. Still working on getting speakers lined up for next year, so we want to do different things. The theme for the conference, there's been themes each year. Like last year, this I guess I can still say this year. It was this year in 20. Was create. So we had to come up with a presentation based on that theme, create. So my topic was on creating notes. So in 2020, the theme this year is play. I have to come up with a good topic that relates to the topic of play. I don't think I want it to be game. Do you have any ideas?
I don't. Play. No, I'll think about it for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still working on it, but I think I'll come up with something good. So, we play with lots of things, and it's not games. So, but come check it out. I would really love to see you out there. Got a lot of great people that are part of the conference. Chuck Joyner, Allison Sheridan, and a few. Been there many times, and I guarantee you they'll be there again next year. So again, July 25th, 26th, 2020, macstockconferenceandexpo.com. All right. With that, Warren, why don't you tell people how they can find you and get a hold of all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Facebook, which is my social media of choice, I guess. We have a Mac to the Future group that's in the notes as well. Basically a fun group where we could talk about Apple technology in general, just have fun conversations about it. I'm at Twitter at wsklar, and I might have an Instagram account, but I'm sure I don't use that. So if you need to get a hold of me, probably Facebook is the way to go.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a great group. That's how I met Warren, and a lot of fun. There's like over 3,000 members, which is still crazy.
Yeah, we get more every day. It's great. Yeah,
and you keep getting more and more. So and it's a friendly place. You're one of the moderators, so you keep people in check. So any people misbehaving, they will no longer be in the group.
It's a hard group to get banned from at all. It's very,
you got to be really bad.
Yeah, the members are very friendly for the most part, and we get everything from new people who come in and ask a question to people who basically talk about anything tech related, and it's sometimes even very anything tech related. So it's fun. So
all right, so that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, and you can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and TuneIn Radio, as well as iHeartRadio. Or better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Thanks again, Warren, for being here.
Yep, thank you. Have a good holiday next week.
Yes, everybody have a great Thanksgiving in the United States. And for those of you who are not in the United States, have a great week. I know you guys have to work, but we'll have a nice holiday next week. It's a short week, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. And we'll be back again soon. Thanks for listening, and talk to you again soon.